need I tell you, one-on-one. If you are a talker, stop on in and have a chat with Greg Walker. One-on-one. Let me tell you, brother, there's been imitators, but there'll never be another. Oh.
Hello, welcome to One-on-One. I'm your host, Greg Walker. I think we got a good guest on our show today. I know he's a young man I think a lot of. He is the councilman for Ward 9, Joel Wallace. Now, Joel is also a practicing attorney with Cunningham, Mitchell, and Rocconi here in town. He is interested in a wide array of subject matter. He's a great Governor's fan. On today's show, we're going to get to know this young man much better. We'll get his thoughts, opinions, and comments on a wide array of subject matter. I want you to settle back, relax, enjoy a fun, down-to-earth conversation with a nice young man. My friend Joel Wallace joins us right after these words.
Thank you for voting Matthews Nissan Clarksville's favorite new car dealer. We're doing it again. Big savings on 400 new, $7,888 off a new Altima, $5,888 off a new Rogue, $6,888 off a new Maxima. Buy a new Versa, $9,999. You're going to love our prices.
I'm Gary Matthews, and that's my guarantee.
You're going to love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville in all media 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
For 100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchment Funeral Home has honored legacies. We believe every family deserves a special time of celebrating a life well lived.
Neil Tarpley Parchment, people who care, a name you can trust.
Welcome to our show today. Joel Wallace is in the house, councilman for Ward 9. Great to have you, Joel.
Thank you, Greg. It's good to be here.
Always good to see you, man. How's the family?
Everybody's doing great. Everybody's doing really
Be sure
well.
to tell them all hello.
I will.
You got a great family.
Thank you. They think a lot of you. So.
And your grandmother, Mary Jo Dozier, I don't know how many of that's his grandmother, one of the strongest women to ever come through the political arena here in Clarksville.
She was a good woman.
She really was. She could work hard for something she believed in.
That's right.
Now, a lot of people may not know. How long have you been on the city council?
I was elected in 2008, so coming up on 8 years.
8 years.
Yes, sir.
Now, you could run again.
I could.
But you have chosen not to run for re-election.
Right.
Why is that?
I just think that my family and I mean, we all love Clarksville and care about it, but just right now, it's just, I think, a good time to take a break. You know, we want to, I think we're looking at other houses within Clarksville where to live, and that may not be in Ward 9, and, you know, it just makes sense from a timing standpoint.
Right.
And you know, if I wanted to go back and do that later, I always could potentially do that some other time down the road, and I want to stay involved somehow, and I'm not sure the best way to do that, but I mean, this is, you know, this is where I want to raise my kids. I would, you know, love to have my grandkids here and things like that. And so
I'm a Clarksville guy all the way.
Exactly. You know, I mean, you know how it is. And so this place is home, and it always will be. And
yep.
So I will continue to stay involved somehow.
Well, you need to be. You need to be involved. You're good at it. You've done a solid job. I think you're well respected, and I want to see you involved. I really do.
Appreciate that.
Cunningham, Mitchell, and Rocconi, attorneys at law. You've been there a while.
I moved back here in 2006. I've been practicing there since then. Had finished up law school in Memphis before that, and came back here and was fortunate to be able to get a job there and work with those guys, and it's been a good experience. I think as a new lawyer, you want to be around people that you can learn from and who want to teach you the ins and outs of practicing law. I think a lot of what you learn in law school is helpful, but may not be on a daily basis in terms of the general practicing law of just, helping at its lowest levels. I mean, not the lowest level, but at simplest, it's probably, you're helping people and working to deal with conflicts, disputes,
Sure.
and things like that.
Sure.
So they're good guys for teaching how to do that.
I have no doubt about that. Now, Larry Riccone, he doesn't care for Ole Miss any day.
He cares for Ole Miss a lot. That's he's the biggest Ole Miss fan I know. And his grandfather played football at Ole Miss. Actually, was in the pros with the Chicago Bears.
Really?
His name is K.O. Dotley. He's still around. I've not met him, but
right.
He was around in the pros for a while. Pretty well thought of at Ole Miss. So I think that probably makes that program run pretty strong in his blood.
How long have you been married?
Since 2015.
2015.
Right.
Newlywed.
That's right.
Still
That's
a
right.
newlywed.
My wife's a teacher at Oakland Elementary School, teaching fifth graders.
Tell everybody about your wife.
Her name is Emily, and she's been a teacher most of her adult life.
That's
and
great.
She was at Oakland Elementary School last year, which was their first year. Oakland is the school out by Cracker Barrel. It's the new school. So this is her second year there. The year before that, she was at St. B teaching first graders. But she taught at Clarksville Academy for a long time, and so she loves Clarksville too. And she's got her sister lives here. Got a brother-in-law who's a firefighter, Eric Hawkins. Her sister's a teacher as well.
That makes it. You both are Clarksvillians and want to continue to be Clarksvillians.
Right.
We have a lot of people come in from out of town, retire here, ex-military, whatever the case may be. And we have a lot that when they get out of high school, college, they want to get out of here. And then we've got that group, like Joel and like myself, that I have had opportunities to leave, but I have never had the desire to leave Clarksville. Good, bad, or ugly, it's home.
Right. And I think sometimes it's good to, I didn't go to college here, and I lived in...
You went to Memphis, right?
I went to Memphis, and I lived in D.C. for about 4 years. I think it's good. At least for me, it makes you appreciate Clarksville even more living in other places. Not that, D.C.'s not a great city, and Memphis isn't a great city, but they're very different, and there are things about those cities that I appreciate, but at the end of the day, it makes me love Clarksville more and makes me love being here more.
You know what I like, Joel, is geographically, I think we're located tremendously well for whatever the case may be. You're about 45 minutes from Nashville, which is a metropolitan type city now. It's no question about that. One of the great cities in the United States. And we're just 40 minutes away if we want that. You got the land between the lakes.
Right.
You can get to the Gulf, the Atlantic pretty good. I think we got a lot to sell here in Clarksville.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And I, the great thing about, Nashville's a world-class city right now.
It is.
And I love to visit there. I don't think I'd want to live there. And I don't think I'd want to deal with the traffic every day. But sometimes I want to go to a concert or some kind of high-end
Now, I do
restaurant.
think we need 8 lanes right now from Clarksville to Nashville.
I would certainly think that it would be utilized.
It's bumper to bumper just about any time you go now.
If you go out there, it's amazing. If you go out there, say hop on exit 11 or exit 8 at 6 o'clock in the morning and see the amount of people going, commuting to work.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It is unreal. Those interstates would be full. Like I said, right now, if they were here today, 8 lanes is perfect. They say, 6. Well, it's sort of like the Parkway. What, we built 2? Boy, we were really thinking on that. Why do we do things like that? Come on now. as a city, our infrastructure, especially our roads, man, we're busting at the seams. What are we going to do? And I know the money, I don't know if it's there.
We have, I mean, I think the best thing we can do on major roads is to position ourselves where, you know, we can put some money in the game with TDOT, and we can have some skin in the game. That's going to help us attract state dollars to get here. And we've got a fund set up right now that we're putting money into on an annual basis to try to do some road projects. You're going to see Warfield is going to get
desperate need.
Right. And the trick on that has been, you know, the state's going to pay for part of that, but we're going to put some money in the pot too.
How many lanes are we going to have there? Do you know?
On part, it will be different on different parts, but I mean, I think the biggest part of it would be 4.
It needs to be 5. Got to have a turning lane.
And I think there may be a turn lane. I haven't seen actual design stuff, but I think it will.
4 is outdated. You got to have 5 now.
So it will. That's a start. But it's constantly going to be, and I will say a good thing too. You're seeing, you know, trying to figure out in terms of the interstate and things like that, what can we do, you know, regionally to get dollars here from the feds, from TDOT, things like that.
And you're trying to bring business to Clarksville, right. And you know,
it's all interrelated.
It's all related. It really is. Overall, though, what do you think the city of Clarksville, what do we need as a city most? What is your biggest concern or thought that we've got to take care of now as a city?
Well, I mean, I think infrastructure is always going to be big, and I think that's not something that we're ever going to be able to deal with alone. I think we've got a good delegation from in our legislature, in the state legislature, that is willing to work with us, like I said. I mean, I think a lot of stuff at the end of the day, I mean, it truly is figuring out a balance in terms of spending and taxes, in terms of what things we can do to increase quality of life here. You know, Swan Lake Pool, we just did a budget amendment the other day that, you know, we're again getting some money from the state to upgrade that, to modernize that, and we're going to put some skin in the game. But I think it's one of those things where if you can do things, I mean, we've got to not be careful, but I think we want to always be cognizant of, are we doing this in the most cost-effective way? Are we maximizing our ability to get grants, things like that? And are we, you know, I don't think that we've always got to be cognizant of our tax rate and our spending on everything. And at the end of the day, it's all part of a balancing act of how do we do that. And that, you know, we'll probably talk about it in a little bit, and there's a lot of conflict on the city council right now, and maybe that's, you know, part of inherently, you know, there's always going to be disputes as to how.
Divide. It's like we're 50-50 right now. You know?
Right. And there's always, you know, everyone's always going to think that they might have a better way of doing it, and they might. But at the end of the day, it's trying to figure out how to balance it all.
Joel Wallace, he is a councilman for Ward 9, our guest today here on 101. We'll be back with segment 2 right after this.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville in all media 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
Welcome back. Joel Wallace joining us today, councilman for Ward 9. This will be his last term, as he's going to get out of the city politics for a while, but he's still going to be involved. You can count on that. What about our city council right now? It's to me, outsider looking in, it's almost like we've got an even divide, pro-McMillan, anti-McMillan. If she wants it, these will go with her, or these will not. Might be the greatest idea in the world, but there's going to be people that's not going to go with it. You know, that's just sort of the way I look at it. Outside look at it.
I don't.
Any truth to that?
I don't think to some extent that's inaccurate. I think it's always fine to have differing opinions, but I think sometimes at the end of the day, when it gets so personal, that's not good for Clarksville.
It's not healthy.
And I'm not trying to tell anybody else how to do their job, and I always try to be careful of that, especially people who are on the city council with me. But when I sit back and look, I try to look at it. Say if I were trying to relocate an industry here in Clarksville, something like that, I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to look around and see what's going on. And we've got a lot of good things going for us.
Sure.
But I suspect if I sat down and watched the city council meeting, I would be somewhat concerned.
You'd be disappointed.
I think disappointed is a good
Yeah, you'd really be disappointed. A lot of people say they watch the tape delay for humor. And, I guess depending on your how your humor is, maybe there's some truth to that. I don't know. It is amazing, though. It really is. People are certainly different. Joel, I asked everybody, and I can't remember yours from way, way past, but what's the best advice you've ever received?
We were talking about Van Stokes earlier, and I had a chance to talk with him after I got elected, and he just said, the best thing you can do is make sure that you're listening. Listen, and listen some more. And I think that's certainly been true on the city council stuff. At the end of the day, I think we think of city government as not being something super complex or anything like that. But it is, on some level, it is a business, and we're making business type decisions, complex business decisions. And
sure.
So I've tried to. I know that I don't have all the answers.
Well, who does? No one
That's
does.
right. That's right. And no one has all the answers, but there are certainly people out there that it is within their job duties to know
where to get the answers.
Right. And you have to be able to decide, can I trust this advice that I'm getting or can
Absolutely.
I not? And I think that's one of the biggest things I've tried to do is listen to other people and figure out is this somebody that I think their advice is right and that knows what they're talking about.
Well, see, what you're talking about is something that we're losing. You're talking about common sense. You just use good common sense. What's best for the city? Not necessarily best for my ward,
right?
But overall, what's best for the city? One of the reasons I was not for ward voting, not only did it take votes away from me that I had, but one of the reasons is because I think now the focus is what's best for my little ward, and not necessarily, if it's not good for my ward, it's not good for the city.
I would agree with that.
And that's not true. What is the truest sign of success?
The truest sign of success? I don't know about that. This is interesting. I think from a local government standpoint, I enjoy serving as a council member, and it's a true passion. But you're always going to have people complaining about different stuff, and sometimes you're thinking, well, why? Are things that bad? But I was in a presentation that Kel Black from Austin P was giving a while back, and he said, people. What I've learned, people complain the most about the things they're most passionate about. And so it's certainly, I think it's not a sign of not being successful when people are complaining. I'll say that. And that's kind of off the cuff, but I think that we're constantly, everyone on the city council is constantly trying to help constituents, help people navigate city government or figure out what's going on with something. And you're always going to hear a lot of complaining, but don't necessarily believe that that means that, you know, the sky's falling or that things aren't successful.
What characteristic do you admire most in a person?
I mean, I think the ability really to try to listen and figure out what, you know, real issues are and find ways to, you know, my grandmother, I think, serving on the city council, was able to try to find common ground with people to really get people to come together when they have disputes. And I think a lot of times in my law practice, that's what, at the end of the day, I'm trying to do too.
Right.
You know,
where's that happy medium?
Right. And sometimes everybody's not. You may come up, whether it's a, you know, a business dispute or something like that. The best solution may be one where everybody leaves unhappy. But you know, and that at the end of the day, if you know, if you look at all the facts, you know, you may not be happy, and the other side may not be happy. But that's probably sometimes the best solutions end up being like that, and the fairest solutions, and that's sometimes just the way it is.
What has been the proudest, most memorable moment in your life?
I mean, I think I'm just proud of being able to live here, to have family around, to just be able to call this place home. You know, everybody in my immediate family is close by and available, and
that helps.
It does. And I've lived in other places where, you know, and I have plenty of friends that they have family scattered throughout the country and different places, and you know, it makes it hard to see people. And I'm able to, if I want to get in the car and go see my grandmother, or get in the car and go hang out with my parents, or I can do that. And so I think that's fortunate. It makes me fortunate to be happy and be glad to live here.
Have you ever had a hero?
I mean, I think it depends on what level. Certainly, you know, I spent. I mean, I think politically, from a local standpoint, I mean, I think I've always tried to look back. You know, how did my grandmother handle things?
How did Mary Jo do it?
Right. I mean, she was on there for 28 years. I, on some level, you know, I'm sad that she's not here now. That I can't. I was not on the city council while she was alive, and so there's not been a time. Right. And so it's not like I could ever go to her for advice. But I grew up around that, and grew up around her. You know, and I mean, I guess she was on the city council up until, you know, for the better part of my life while she was around. She was in local politics. So that's always been good.
Who do you go to for advice?
I think you've got to talk to a lot of people on stuff. I mean, you know, I mean, if it's legal stuff, if it's professional stuff, I mean, I think that there are certain lawyers that I'll talk to. I mean, I think that if it's city business stuff, I mean, I try to talk to. I talk to a lot of different people, and I mean, I think that's from department heads. I think that's to just local business people. I think that's people.
Is you can get advice from a wide array of people.
At the end of the day, you can get advice from a wide array of people, and you're probably going to get a lot of wide array of advice. And I think you've got to figure out how to process all that and understand where that person who's giving you the advice has come from. Understand that, you know, with regard to Clarksville, there have been people who've lived here a lot longer than you have. Understand with regard to some issues, there are department heads that are dealing with things on a daily basis that know more than you do.
Sure.
So,
Joel Wallace is our guest. Stretch Run coming up right after this.
Thank you for voting Matthews Nissan Clarksville's favorite new car dealer. We're doing it again. Big savings on 400 new, $7,888 off a new Altima, $5,888 off a new Rogue, $6,888 off a new Maxima. Buy a new Versa, $9,999. You're going to love our prices.
I'm Gary Matthews, and that's my guarantee.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
For 100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchment Funeral Home has celebrated legacies with services as unique as each life.
Neil Tarpley Parchment, people who care, a name you can trust.
Stretch Run, our guest today, Joel Wallace, Councilman for Ward 9. His final few months as a councilman, as a matter of fact, and going to devote more time to the family and maybe doing some different things. You have any hobbies?
Love to read. Big college basketball fan. Love to watch Austin Peay.
Oh, you're a P fan. What about the Govs? What are some of your greatest memories?
Well, I mean, last season with the NCAA tournament was huge. You know, I think I was able to, after moving back, make the trip to Little Rock to see the Ghosts play Texas in, what was that, probably 07, 08?
That's right.
So, I mean, I love, you know, home games and things like that, but it's also always fun to just be able to see them participate in the postseason. I think that's always, I mean, there's probably no, you know, I was sitting in an airport the day this year when Austin Peay played Kansas. You know, there's probably no way to measure the effect in terms of publicity on Austin Peay and on Clarksville just from that game alone. And I was sitting there.
Anytime you're national on any show or anything, huge.
Right. So I always look at it from that way. But I mean, you know, I grew up going to basketball games at Austin Peay. So the Dunn Center's always been a special place.
Yeah, you even won a contest over there.
That's right. I won the Greg Walker impersonation contest.
Yes, you did.
That's right.
That was a few years ago.
That was fun.
But you did do it. You won it.
That was fun.
What's your favorite food?
Oh, I'd probably say steak.
Hey, it's been great.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Sometimes you need to let somebody sit down and interview you as the subject for the show.
Who would be good to interview me?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
You think about that. Joel Wallace, I want to thank Steve Sawyer behind the scenes, makes it happen. For yours truly, Greg Walker, the team. Until next time, have a very nice rest of the day, folks.